Basically, we had protests breaking out across the whole country, mostly universities, colleges, places of higher learning and higher stupidity. Like, that's what it is. And this, like, I never seen Pat this angry. Like, in this video that you played in the PVD podcast really got to him. You guys can check out our VT main channel. We clipped this clip. He was aggravated by how much money they're wasting, how much time they're wasting. And this is just funny. Like, if we can play a few seconds.
And before you get to the video, Humberto, I just want to point out, if we can put it up without playing it, just to set the scene here. And dang it, our little video window cuts it off. Okay, perfect.
Great job.
Do you see the guy in the back who is not talking?
How dare you assume his gender?
Do you
shadow and beard?
Looks like
Do
a
you see lady, sir?
Do you see the they them in the background in a crop top and a Muslim scarf, trying to stand there and protest? These guys took a break from their. They're missing their final exam for post-colonial lesbian dance therapy in order to come do this protest for us.
Connor, I grew up in the Middle East. If we made a GoFundMe and buy them tickets, one-way tickets there, they will, for the first time in human history, they will run out of stones. They will run out of. You will have to.
What do we beat them with now?
You will have to. You will have to import stones. Like, they will have to reuse stones to throw at them.
And that feels disrespectful. Okay, we stoned one guy with this rock, but we ran out, so we got to go get it and then throw it back at you.
I know, rock recycling. That's what you're gonna get. So I didn't even want to play the video, but this lady right here, Malik, if you want to go ahead, she's asking for humanitarian aid for them. In America.
People who've taken over a building.
Well, first of all, we're saying that they're obligated to provide food to students who pay for a meal plan here.
But you mentioned that there was a request that food and water be brought in, unless I misunderstood.
To allow it to be brought in. I mean, well, I guess it's ultimately a question of what kind of community and obligation Columbia feels it has to its students. Do you want students to die of dehydration and starvation or get severely ill?
You're dying of starvation. Her dorm is
no,
like
then you should allow
5 minutes walk away, and they're going to die of starvation.
And let's put in context where they are right now, because this was after a group of pro-Palestine protesters took over Hamilton Hall, which is an administrative building on the campus.
I'm not mistaken, they took hostages.
Yeah, they did have a few administrators who were afraid to leave their office because of the massive amount of people there. They smashed their way in with hammers through the windows and doors, then built furniture barricades. Other people stood arm in arm around to block them. And they're like, we will not leave this building until our demands are met.
What?
And
ceasefire? Is someone going to go, hey, these guys are locked in the building. Ceasefire
Benjamin
immediately.
Netanyahu was like, oh, crap.
Columbia, Hamilton Hall has fallen.
We shouldn't be offensive. It's not Hamilton Hall anymore. They renamed it Hinds Hall after a Palestinian girl who was killed in an Israeli airstrike.
Forever?
That's a tragedy.
Like official. That's official.
No, that's what the protesters wrote on a banner.
They do that all the time.
Yeah. So it's
the peaceful protest.
Yeah, for people who are very against a colonialist state of Israel, they sure love to take things that don't belong to them and rename them and say we're not leaving. So, think on that for a bit.
Here's what. Okay, so Pat was pissed off about this on the PVD podcast. You have no idea how much this pisses me off. I went to Columbia.
You went to Columbia?
I went to Columbia. And I literally spent so much time studying, working hard to be able to get into Columbia. And this is the shit the students are going to represent Columbia's. There's literally Nobel laureates up the wazoo that have gone there and teach there currently. And this is the type of disrespect that they're showing America, right now. It is just unreal. And as somebody who's been there, and I dropped out, so I feel like I have a shot at being a billionaire because, I technically dropped out of an Ivy League school, but it kind of pisses me off that not only are they this young lady, I'm sure she worked super hard to get there as well too, and her parents, I'm sure, made plenty of sacrifices to pay for it and get her piano lessons or lesbian lessons or something that she did before she got there. But my point to this is that there's just such a level of disrespect to the students that have worked hard, are trying to change the world that live there, and this is the shit that the university is being known for right now.
I think
it's ruining the price of people's
I think
degrees.
that's the main problem. People trying to change the world. Let's keep the world as
and not to put
know?
too fine a point on it, but I believe that last girl's name is Slutsky or something close to that. So make whatever jokes
you'd be mad
want
too.
out of that.
Yeah,
All right, guys, let me cook.
You'd be curious.
People are drawing conclusions, and they're like, "Oh, this is just like the BLM riots. They're setting the stage, so we have another massive protest. Maybe they're pushing the Patriots to have another January 6th." This is my favorite picture on the whole internet. Can we pull it up right now? This is actually a screenshot from the CNN broadcaster. But
mostly peaceful.
He's wearing a gas mask and goggles, but it's peaceful.
No. But listen, fiery, but mostly peaceful. This was actually there. Like, I double checked the video, and this was.
You guys have the same eyewear. You and the CNN.
I know. I'm always ready for a riot.
Oh, for tear gassing.
Yeah. So
Well, I mean, apropos of nothing, there was at one point someone who said, "Show me where protests are supposed to be peaceful," but.
Okay, but
we
let me
won't
ask
bring
you a
that
question. Eric Adams comes out last week and said that there were paid agitators in the crowd that was making this a non-peaceful protest.
Well, you
and
look
you
at the
brought
people
up
who
Black Lives Matter. So is it a stretch for us to, there's a government official acknowledging that there are paid agitators in the crowd that are disrupting. So is it that much of a stretch if a Democratic New York City mayor is making that claim? Is it a stretch to say that there may have been paid agitators in the Black Lives Matters movement?
Rob, that's exactly where we're going, and I'm going to tell everyone right here what this is. Roll the tape. Communism. This is just communism. BLM, communism. This, communism. And, let's go to the next slide, because it is communism. By the way,
Russian national anthem.
Yeah,
that we're
but
playing?
this is the ear grape version that has been bass boosted. Can we go to the next one?
The bass has been boosted on the
and
Soviet Union anthem. Okay,
language when it comes to things is everything. These people foreshadow. They write about things before they do it. What are they saying right now? That the Israeli is an apartheid. Why are they saying an apartheid? Because they have two objectives when it comes to this massive protest, mostly fiery, but kind of peaceful. Here, if they're talking about an apartheid, they're not looking for a martyr like they did with George Floyd. They're looking for a leader. Like, the left leadership is getting old. We have Bernie Sanders. We have Elizabeth Warren. We have Nancy Pelosi. We have Joe Biden. Their leadership is getting old, and they need a new generation of leadership. So what are they looking for? Let's go to the next. They're looking for a Marxist terrorist like Nelson Mandela, worst person on the planet. He was actually.
Tell us how you really feel.
No.
heard a lot of things about Mandela. Never worst person in the world.
Yeah.
Humberto says a lot of
Hitler worse, maybe, but okay.
Humberto says a lot of crazy stuff sometimes. We all acknowledge that. Even Humberto acknowledges that.
Good.
On this subject, he is not wrong. What we are seeing in South Africa right now, I don't know if you followed the farm murders. It's been going on basically since the 90s. Of these groups of people are going through, and it's a genocide, if you want to use that term, against the white inhabitants of South Africa, where now you will have bands of raiders go up to these farms. They're isolated out in the middle of nowhere. White farmers descended from the Dutch colonizers who came down there, and they will butcher and rape entire families and burn their property to the ground. And they're getting more and more sophisticated. They've now caught these guys with signal jammers set up in their backpacks, which high-tech military equipment to stop radio and phone transmissions from getting in and out of the farm, so they can't call for help. So they will spend hours torturing the women and children, slit the throats of every person involved, kill all the animals, burn the crops, burn the house to the ground, loot everything, and go. Because the whole point is to just take all the stuff from the white people. And
this is going on in South Africa. Yeah. This is going on in Chile.
Yeah. Nelson Mandela somehow manages to escape criticism for that. Like, oh no, he wanted peace. Like, he set up the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission was just doing that with law instead of bands of raiders.
Yeah.
And now that they're far enough away where they can avoid criticism of that, they just full reign to the raiders.
And that's a great, segue to why they're doing it in schools, why they're doing it in colleges. This guy right here, his name is
Antonio
Gramsci. He says socialism is precisely the religion that must overwhelm Christianity. By Christianity is a more general term, like, Western capitalist society. In the new order, socialism will trump the first, capturing the culture via infiltration of schools, universities, churches, and the media by transforming the consciousness of society. So if we see the pictures, we have the guy reporting that it was fire but mostly peaceful. We have the schools being taken over. We have, I'm a Catholic.
Yeah.
And I don't think what's been going on in the Catholic Church for the last 100 years is just like a coincidence or a mistake. It's been infiltrated.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Completely.
I mean, it's Protestant
the same.
Church as well.
It's the same, like feminism. Actually, a lot of this started with feminism. Feminism was created by a woman called Kate Millay. I think it's how you say it in French or whatever. She was a known communist and Marxist, and some of the original writings literally talk about all of this stuff. You look at some of the biggest supporters of these different protests and organizations, BLM, the LGBTQ stuff, a lot of it stems from feminism, Marxist bullshit.
This is a socialist intifada. And to give you guys tools at home to identify these things, because there's patterns. There's, you need to educate yourself to see when it's happening, and you need to learn their tactics. I'm obsessed with Marxist tactics, because whenever I see something on TV or whenever I see something that they're doing at the protests, like weapons, the way they take over things, the 3 books are a really good starting point. The first one is a classic. It's Roots for Radical by a known organizer, Saul Alinsky.
Bear in mind, that one was the one dedicated to Satan.
Yes.
In the opening chapters.
This was published in 1971, and this is one of the first book. Well, this is one of the first major books that describe tactics for insurrection and revolution.
Didn't Hillary Clinton write her dissertation on Rules for Radicals?
Yeah, there's a connection between.
This
the
is
two
super mainstream. Like the second book is a little bit more. They don't quote it, but they've read it. This is the Anarchist Cookbook. This is very tactical. Roots for Radicals has a little bit more of the bigger picture thing, and the Anarchist Cookbook literally will tell you how to make
napalm.
B words. Yeah. Make napalm. And then we have this other book that we'll highly recommend, because these tactics have been highly effective, especially in South America. This is called Molecular Revolution by Felix Guattari. The first book is pretty straightforward. Anyone can read it. The second book, the Anarchist Cookbook, is also very straightforward. If you're gonna read Felix Guattari so it doesn't rot your brain, I will do some reading before approaching the book. And the last thing that I don't know if I have the slide there, all these resources, they've been put together, they've been refined, and they are being used right now. I want everyone to go check this out. The website is live. It's called Beautiful Trouble. We had people like AOC, and you can look for compilations of this, talking about creating Beautiful Trouble. Beautiful Trouble is literally like a compilation and a guide of all these tactic books. This is not by mistake. This is not a coincidence. They don't organize. They have paid organizers. They have all these people that are trained Marxists. So I will give this a look and start identifying the tactics, and the boys getting together and being fearless and holding the flag so it doesn't touch the floor. Mm-hmm. That's one way to resist this thing, because today is Israel-Palestine. Tomorrow is going to be something else, and they're going to keep corroding this beautiful country, best country in the world. I love America. I will take a bullet for this country. I wouldn't even flinch. So you're aware, do your reading, and resist.
Before we wrap and move on to the final topic, I want to go around the room. Do you guys believe that do you believe that these protests will result in any type of good? Is there any good that will come from will there be any policy changes or anything that changes as a result of any of these protests that we're seeing for pro-Palestine? Because the only takeaway I'm seeing is people are becoming more pro-America, and we're seeing more of that. Eric Adams issuing the New York City Police Department to go down and pull down the Palestinian flag from Columbia and raising the American flag. The frat bros at UNC making sure that the American flag didn't hit the ground. Do you guys see any benefit, any positive for the people's argument of pro-Palestine? Do you think there's going to be any positive outcome for those protesters, Amy?
No.
Connor?
I can see an outcome where they successfully pressured Democratic politicians into changing policy that benefits them, but nothing good. Did you see the difference?
Humberto.
This will elect Donald Trump. There's a generational divide between old school leftists like your Joe Biden and that type of people that they still, on paper and on policy, they need to protect Israel at all costs because it's a big part of the U.S. foreign policy. But at the same time, they're losing the vote of Generation C that is in the colleges that are getting brainwashed. And the generation gap will, like, the outcome for the left is going to be terrible. The outcome for every freedom thinker is going to be, I think it's a net positive. But I don't know. I encourage everyone to not pick sides and think about America. That's my thing.
Finally, Columbia dropout, possibly a Fed, and now the director of studio operation at Value Tape, and Robert O'Rourke. Do you think the pro-Palestine protesters are going to have any benefits on policy as a whole?
Strategically speaking, this has nothing to do with Palestine or Israel. This is about the 2024 election. They're going to try and use this to start a riot continually and try and start a state of emergency. So we're going to have to, not go vote in person or something like that to steal the election. So my thing is this is going to help anybody who wants to keep the current power regime in place.
I feel like it's doing the opposite after what you said about affecting the election in favor of Trump and what we're seeing among pro-American sentimentism in the United States. I almost feel like it's having the direct opposite effect of what they were hoping for.
The pendulum swinging back. Like, you look at what was going on in the 2020 elections, and it had the effect that people wanted it to have. It pushed people away from Trump, but it's doing the opposite now.
As stupid as the first video was of them asking for humanitarian aid when they're in school, this is very performative. The left performs things. So they wanted everyone around in the school to see what it feels like to be in Gaza. It's an act, it's like an act. And the same thing goes for the right. When you actually see these assholes pulling down the flag that is a half mast, and you see it with your own eyes, and you see the guys taking it down, if I pass by, I'd be like, F no. They're not taking it down. Doesn't matter if I'm going to the bank. Once you see it firsthand and you don't see it on TV, it's different.
It's all going to be fun and not fun and games, but it's all going to, it looks like you're winning right now, that it's helping. But I think the second a kid dies that's on the Palestinian side, on, a student, all bets are off.
They're never going to get their George Floyd moment. They can't recreate that. The public sentiment isn't there to rally around one guy. But what they will get is probably like 500 mini Floyds of, okay, there's not one cop kneeling on one guy, but a bunch of cops knocked a kid down a flight of stairs and he busted his head open. Or they dragged this girl away screaming and it dislocated her shoulder. They will combine these into their movement now.
Yep.
And that's what I think will be able to pressure politicians to maybe start listening to them, because they know what can happen if they don't.